So, hello everybody, and welcome to the second in our three-part series on how influence is evolving in sports, gaming, and entertainment. Last time around, we heard from Rebecca Worthington at Pringles and Kellanova about her experience working with athletes, particularly the amazing success of their Cole Palmer partnership, which has been going amazing to be part of and has been going from strength to strength, even now. But this week, we've got all of these brilliant listeners and viewers joining us because the conversation is evolving away from that singular talent deal. And we're going to be deep diving into how Snipes' partnership with Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, has built one of the most impactful football club partnerships from both a brand and culture perspective that I've seen, certainly for the first year in that partnership. So it's a really exciting one. And I'm joined here by the perfect person to dig into this with. I'm here with Simon Bus, Head of Communications and Entertainment at Snipes. Welcome, Simon.
Oh, and my pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Buzz to have you on. Now, we were saying before, weren't we? We've got an awful lot that we can talk through here. I've got a ton of questions. But to kick us off and give us a bit of like a
Yeah.
macro kind of starting point, can you tell us a bit more about and tell kind of our viewers and listeners a bit more about Snipes as a business?
Yes, sure. Snipes was founded back in 1998 as a shop for the hip hop culture. It wasn't named, and we ran so-called street culture stores. And the idea was not to be just another sportswear retailer, but a streetwear retailer with a strong focus on American music, like hip hop culture, American sports, sneaker culture, and that, yeah, quite marked a fundamental difference to the typical retail landscape here in Germany at that time. We are brand driven or marketing driven. We are loaded with cultural activities from dance to music. And so we're built differently than the competition in the market, but we grew big, and over 800 stores across the globe, almost 2 billion in annual revenue, and we're still growing.
Yeah, definitely still growing, especially with kind of years like the past 12 months, the partnership with PSG and some of the other great collabs. I guess kind of we're teeing up the partnership a bit now, but before we get into that, I'd actually like to go backwards on your journey. And if you could tell us a bit, I guess, about your kind of personal journey up to the point of you being in this brilliant role today in Snipes.
Yeah, the way I landed at Snipes is everything but not straight. I didn't graduate from university and applied for a job. I didn't even graduate from any university at all. I was a journalist most of my life. I loved storytelling all of my life, and I had the chance to make my way into journalism. I worked for the biggest German TV and radio stations. I had a scholarship at the best or one of the best journalist schools in Germany, and my mentor there was and still is one of the biggest TV personalities in Germany, in German television, and he even created some of the biggest shows we have in German television, and he supported me on creating my own sweet spot for my creativity, to leverage that, to create own formats, create own shows, and he really supported me from day one. And one of these ideas I created with him or under his guidance was even produced for German television. One of the ideas just 1 year ago. And I decided to focus on things I love. I wasn't there to create the politic talk show 2.5 or the game show 3.0. I was there I looked into my room and I was like, oh, there are a lot of sneakers. Let's do something in this realm. And so I created a show about sneakers and streetwear, and ended up being one of the biggest channels on YouTube in the German speaking market for some years in this field, and worked with Snipes quite a few times. And their CEO and founder must have seen me in one or two recaps on his hard drive, and he called me and he asked me if I want to Cologne to talk to him, and I thought he wanted to ask me with the small production house I had, like, hey Simon, can you do some videos for us? That was when I got on the plane to Cologne. When I came back, I knew that he wanted me at Snipes to rebuild the PR department, and I was self-employed at that time. I was doing this show, had this small production house, but I hate it, to be honest. I hate it to be self-employed. I love when people are self-employed, but that's not for me. So I said, yes, I'm moving to Cologne. I stopped the show, started a podcast to still being able to talk about my passion and do content around it. And yeah, I rebuilt corporate and lifestyle PR at Snipes in my first year, added influencer marketing in my second year, had a good run. And after 2 years, I was promoted to also being able to lead up the whole cultural marketing at Snipes. And like 1 year ago, I'm like in my 7th year now at Snipes. And a year ago, I had the honor to also take over our charity work, which we call Snipes Serves. And that's a community give back program.
What an amazing journey to talk through. I think
Yeah,
we're
as
gonna
you say
need
it.
we're gonna need to turn this into a series of eight kind of different episodes so we can dive into all those different stages. I've got like 100 questions, and I also feel a bit under pressure that your background in journalism and podcasts and content, and I'm the one trying to ask questions. So I feel a bit of pressure to get this right, man. Yeah, you kind of took us on that. You took us on that kind of walk through up to kind of, I guess, your role today.
Yeah.
Uh, I get one of the kind of big things that have been a part of your role for the last 12 months has been this partnership. I guess like if we could start to walk through kind of the partnership, maybe from its fruition all the way through, let's kind of take the listeners and viewers on a journey there. From a Snipes perspective, I guess how did this partnership kind of come about? Why did you kind of choose this partnership as kind of your first step into football as a business?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's PSG. It's probably the biggest lifestyle brand in the world of football and the perfect fit for a retailer that claims to be lifestyle or culture infused by the sport surrounding it. I mean, PSG is a global play. You can wear the jersey everywhere in the world, maybe except of Marseille and smaller area around Marseille, but in the rest of the world, you can wear a PSG jersey and just represent football lifestyle. Try that in London, like try wearing a Tottenham jersey anywhere outside of Tottenham. Try wearing a Barcelona jersey in Madrid. That's something where you would say, okay, PSG is really street appropriate. It's lifestyle, it's urban, it's even hip hop culture. And for us, the club switch from those big transfers like Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, and leaning towards local talents from Paris. That's the substance we were looking for. Like in the 2018 World Cup, PSG recognized that all of those players who became the world champions, like a lot of them, I guess it was like 8 or 9 from the starting 11, come from the Ile-de-France, like the metropolitan area around Paris. But only one of those players has a contract with PSG. And so they're like, that can't be the truth, that the best players in the world at that moment are not playing for or just one of them. It's President Kimpembe playing for the club in Paris. Mm-hmm. And so they said, hey, we have to look on that and focus with our strategy on having more local players in our roster. And so the partnership to us is with the strategic shift from that PSG is in. It's not about the logo visibility. That's not why we are doing it. It's about an integration into the world of football for us that makes sense for us as a brand and sense to our consumer. But when you said it when you asked me, it's a partnership, and that's actually one of the main reasons to go with PSG as well. Yes, we are a sponsor at the end of the day, but both sides don't treat it like a sponsorship. It's a partnership on eye level, and actually, because you said, why did we chose to work with PSG? They slid into our DMs and they chose us at the end of the day. They were like, okay, hey guys, we like you. We would like to have a conversation about you of potentially working together. And to stay in this metaphor, the first date went well, and we kept moving forward.
It's a beautiful metaphor to wrap it up. But I think, even it's interesting, isn't it? Like, in a lot of places, maybe you'd have seen a similar business to yourselves in the same category, partner with maybe a football club, and they might call it a retail partner or a clothing partner, but actually it's culture and community part. Even the nomenclature is unique in it and brings to life, I guess, the fact that it is a partnership about the strategy that the club and yourselves are kind of on, which is connecting with the local communities as a platform to become a big global business, and win globally. And I think that's a beautiful articulation of it.
That was so important for us to not be like premium partner
Yeah.
or whatever it could, or official partner to PSG, but being the culture and community partner because of this newness and because of the direction we like to execute this partnership.
Yeah, exactly. If I can just ask a quick question, actually, just thinking about you talking about the relationship the relationship metaphor. What about you from a personal perspective? Or PSG, who's your club? Are PSG your club?
That's like I have to put the microphone aside for a second. Like,
Okay.
do you see that one? Like, um, I was like, I love football, and when I was younger, I'm like, you can guess my age now, but when I fell in love with the game of football, that was the Opel era when it comes to sponsorships. Like Bayern Munich was having an Opel sport sponsoring, Milan, PSG, and one of my favorite players of all time is Nicola Anelka, and he's like a PSG legend. So I was always like leaning towards PSG. So it's super special for me to work with the club, but being born and raised in Mainz, no, but being born in Wolfsburg, this is a club I'd like to. I recently I just like tidied up the basement, and I found an old Wolfsburg jersey with the signatures of all the players when they promoted to the first division in Germany in 1997. But I love Mainz 05. I lived in Mainz for the most part of my life, and so I love this club. I've been there when they were in the second division. I've seen like almost all home games at that time. So I love football. I love Mainz, Wolfsburg, but PSG is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad kit to be able to wear right now by treble winners, Champions League winners. But yeah, having that connection all the way back to the 98,
Yes,
the Opel era is kind of I guess that's a beautiful arc to kind of have been part of. And yeah, I guess to be really be part of it now. Um,
absolutely.
I guess like one, you kind of spoke a bit about how the partnership kind of came to be and where that
Hmm.
kind of alignment was between the two organizations. I guess even then though, from the moment from when the partnership was commercially created, it feels like every single stage has kind of been about like flipping the standard approach that brands might take in this space and doing something really unique. Like, how did this kind of strategy came to life, or can you bring to life, I guess, some of how the strategy from partnership signing, actually the strategy for how you bring it to life, like what that looked like?
I already said that PSG at the moment was like in a moment of reconnection to the local Paris area, to players from Paris, to developing players and not only transferring big names to Paris. This moment started, obviously, as I said before, at the World Cup in 2018. And they're like, when we started the first conversation, they said, yeah, they're right in the middle of this process. So Mbappe left at the end of the last season, and they're like, okay, yes, now we're looking where we find ourselves, ending up with the treble and the Champions League title at the end of the season. I guess no one really thought about that like a year ago. But this reconnection was obviously super successful. So the strategic platform was to share the stage, to share it with Parisian culture and PSG at the same time in their moment of reconnection, and leveraging this reconnection so they are one and the same, and beckoned by the Snipes community. Together, they'll share the stage in a way that makes a global impact. So for us, it's a local play, the local play of reconnecting to PSG, to its local communities, or the club to its local communities, but also as a global play, because PSG is the biggest brand in global football. So that's a pretty cool constellation. And So how did we make it happen? We rallied the community, we celebrated the spaces and places, we authentically tried to reclaim what's ours and open it up to a global stage, and this being activated amongst the community. So tapping into the people and the nuances that make Paris so unique, but also music, which is important to us as well as the club, as the breeding ground for innovative sounds and streetwear. From the Parisian creatives and designers that like with a global following outside of those well-known and famous luxury brands from Paris. And this was our strategic approach, our approach of reconnecting on two layers. And the biggest part of the like what was most important to us in the strategy part was the correct selection of talent to make it really outstanding.
Yeah, and I really want to get into talking a bit more about kind of the approach to talent, because when you look at any of the work that's come out of this partnership over the last 12 months, you can see talent are at the heart of it. And I guess part of that,
Mm.
just to reflect on what you just spoke about there, like it's such a unique approach again, that sharing the stage idea of, everything has got the kind of amazing Parisian club kind of player, Parisian kind of based kind of club players sharing a stage with the local community and everything. Like the idea of sharing the stage is such a strong thought that can obviously visually play out. And then just I love again that as a brand, you're all about community music and streetwear. You teed it up further up that there aren't many clubs in the world that are a better place to bring through community music and streetwear in the space of football than PSG. So again, those tenets of the strategy just feel so perfectly. They unite Snipes and PSG so wonderfully, and I guess give it a great platform for how the talent can kind of come through, which leads me to I do want to understand a bit more, I guess, and it'd be great for the listeners to hear a little bit more about like the role that talent played in the kind of plans for that first season, like the approach that you took.
Yeah, like we have an internal artist team for Europe at Snipes. We have a local marketplace team for France, and we had two agencies, Ear to the Ground being one of them, to put work into this special topic. So we knew we could only win this with the right approach in Paris. So there was no room for mistakes or bad choices when it comes to talents. And the partners we chose are our so-called home heroes. They're like tastemakers, opinion leaders, artists, DJs, people who are deeply rooted and relevant in Parisian culture. And so they represent their own worlds. They are fans of PSG, and they are partners to Snipes. And our goal was really creating impact on all three sides of the triangle.
Yeah, and those home heroes, obviously, they're amazing representation. Like teed them up a little bit there. They're amazing representations of the incredible kind of cultural talent that are kind of coming through
Mm.
and kind of in Paris and the districts around Paris. But I guess it'd be great if you could maybe bring to life one of those and how they kind of fulfilled that triangle brilliantly, and how you worked with them. Just one example would be great.
So we selected the home heroes for the first campaign. So when we launched the partnership, we were looking into a handful of local heroes who could represent the partnership best. One of these home heroes is John Foster. John Foster actually was a youth academy player of PSG 15 years ago. He was there when Ibrahimovic, for example, joined the club. He was at the youth academy. And when he left the academy, when he left the club, he was still pursuing his passion in football and created like the 1 versus 1 football challenge in France. And what I love about this particular man is that he has goals. His goal is to make this Olympic. So whenever he's moving forward, his big goal is having 1 versus 1 football Olympic at one day. And he's so passionate about it we got to know each other a bit better. He was part of one of the first activations, and now we're supporting John with his goal on being Olympic one day, but right now on his approach of having a European tour. So he's currently touring 16 European cities with his activation to bring 1 versus 1 football to Europe. And that's something like he's from Paris. Not only he played for PSG, but he's from a southern neighborhood of Paris called Évry. So he is what we are looking into when it comes to representing the partnership, the city, and Snipes in the best possible way, and being able to leverage each side of it. So he became an even bigger Snipes supporter than he was before. We support him, and both of us support the club with the initiatives we do. So he's one of our home heroes.
Yeah, and amazing individual and kind of phenomenal background with that connection to the club and through the
Yes.
connection to the cities, and another great representation of how neatly kind of tied together all the different elements were. I guess what's interesting, kind of as we talk about this, is usually when a brand starts to talk about their partnership with a football club and someone asks about talent, the first thing they'll say is they'll talk about the players, and it's just fascinating that actually these home heroes are the first thing you talk about. But I do want to ask, and it'd be great for the heroes or the listeners to hear how kind of players were involved and how you kind of approach the involvement of the club's players in your work.
Like, to be honest, from a strategic perspective, we first looked into the home heroes, like who are the local representatives. But then, like slowly but surely, we recognize, like, okay, but there's this one home hero, and he's coming from, for example, the '93, and then it's like, isn't President Kimpembe from the '93 as well? Or isn't Warren Zaire-Marie from this neighborhood as well? So we recognize that some of the players who are currently playing for the club are from the same neighborhoods as our home heroes. So what you could expect what happened on the first media day, when we brought Balou, one of the guys who supported us in the launch of the partnership with his incredible talent and personality. Balou is a host of a lot of French hip hop formats. He has his own YouTube channel where he's doing interviews and several shows, but he's also the host of one of the biggest French rap Netflix shows in France. And they were like, all of the players, like the President Kimpembe, they're like, oh, I know that guy. We can connect. We have a good conversation. But the younger players, they were like even starstruck when they saw Balou, because they're like, oh, he's from Netflix. And everyone's like, yeah, but you're famous for, you're like a football star. And they're like, no, but that's Balou. And that was so cool to see that the connection works. And whenever there's, like, for example, John, around it, he's always like immediately connecting to the new players, because they're on eye level, they're facing the same reality, or they've been through similar stuff. And so the players are not chosen because they are the biggest names, or we're like, he looks good, or he would fit this pair of shoes. It's more like who connects the best to our home heroes and our local approach.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I mean, you touch at the end. Quite often, what happens is let's try and get the biggest names that we can to feature
Yeah.
in this piece of content and push them together. Where actually it's all rooted on, and it's brilliant because you've not even used the word authenticity. You're not even, people say it all the time. You've not even had to use it, because actually what you've done there is just created these amazing kind of authentic links between people that it makes so
Yes.
much sense, and where they all wanted to be involved. It's like there's so many lessons to be taken from that. Which does lead me to my next question very neatly, actually, because often, like when there's a partnership between a brand and particularly I think a club, there's kind of pressure into launching with kind of a bit of a copy and paste, cut and paste kind of approach, where there's stock imagery of the logo lockup, and people looking a bit awkward stood next to each other, and that's the launch. But actually, I think I've never seen anything like this, and it's been phenomenally successful. But could you talk us through your approach to launching the partnership? Because it is hugely unique, and I think a lot of lessons can be learned from it.
It's like when I was in the moment of launching, everything felt so natural. If I look back at it, I have to laugh immediately because it was like one crazy ride. It's like we signed the contract on September 10, 2024. On September 9, we presented the final approach I was just referring to the club. And actually, there was this one quote that was brought to me like a few months ago, and they said, "Hey, Simon, when you presented that, every one of us was like believing like that's your year plan. It took us some time to realize that it's really like just the plan for the first month for the launch of the partnership." And they were like, okay, and maybe that's even looking back to it, that was the moment when really everyone realized, okay, this is something special. This is not what you were just referring to, this typical launch of a partnership and here's your box, here's your logo, see you next year. That's it. So we signed the contract on September 10. We launched exactly 2 weeks later. The narrative was ready, but we really needed to go into executing it. Like okay, there's the plan. The club referred to as the year plan, which we wanted to execute in 4 weeks. No content, no shooting, no nothing. Okay, 2 weeks, let's go. September 24th, we sent out the press release, gained lots of coverage and more than 100 million in reach. To clarify, organic reach. 30 days later, PSG played at 3 days later. PSG played at the Parc des Princes with the Central C Jordan 3rd kit and our logo on the back. So couldn't have been planned better. In the week after, so still in this 4-week time frame, yes. In the week after, we shot the campaign content and finished it until October 18. When we made our PSG retail intro all across Europe and in our online shops. We did out of home, we did all of that. The week before that, like as if that's not enough, the week before that, we hosted 4 local activations in the heart of Paris. And the weekend after, we had the community game where we honored our home heroes by giving them the spot on the backs of the jerseys and where our logo is typically located and all the perimeter minutes. So that was like 1 month of pure craziness with the goal to let the world know that we are the new partners to Paris Saint-Germain and activate Paris from the outside to the inside.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal month, and yeah, like a
That's
year's worth of
crazy.
activity, and I think everybody felt it, but felt the adrenaline and the excitement of delivering something that
And that was
was
so much fun. Like I
yeah.
didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for almost 4 weeks, but it was so much fun.
So yeah, I want to ask a little, want to ask a little bit more on behalf of kind of the kind of listeners and viewers on a couple of those elements. I think I'll just touch on. I think everybody's kind of signed up will kind of see a kind of a bit of a summary of the campaign, and you'll see within
Yeah.
that kind of campaign content that launched it was completely different to content that you'd see launch any other club partnership. It brought to life the idea of sharing the stage where it was players and home heroes kind of side by side on the rooftop in the Banlieue of Paris, rather than what you usually see, which is players stood in the stadium holding a kit. That was really unique. But I don't want to dwell too much on content because there's loads of stuff we could talk about. And I really would love you to talk through the community game with the home heroes kind of participation in that and what happened there and the reaction that you got from that, because it's really, really stand out.
Yeah. So at the end of this 4-week term, we said we want to give back to them because they are giving us so much of their time, of their spaces, of their passion, of everything. So they supported us so much to launch this partnership. So we wanted to give back to them. So what we did is, like I said, we have the back of the jersey placement of our logo, and we like put in all of their names into this space, and the players played in that jersey. So the names of all of our supporters for this campaign from Paris were on the back of, for example, Ashraf Hakimi or Bradley Barcola when they played that game. And you had to zoom in to recognize that because it was like they were on the pitch. You couldn't really see it there.
Yeah.
So all the perimeter minutes we had, we put their names on the perimeter as well. And it was so interesting to see that when the game started, in behind them in the backs, we hung up those jerseys the players wore with their names on, so that at halftime they could see the jerseys. But on the first time the perimeter ad was running with their names on, I knew it was like 15 minutes into the game. I was like, will they even recognize? Maybe they're looking on their phones or whatever. I don't know. I was really a bit nervous and looking into them, and then it starts, and it's like the perimeter time is like a minute. And like after 10, 15 seconds, the first one was like, bro, that's my name. And then the next one and the next one. And everyone was like, whoa. And so a few of them realized, like, it took some time, and not everyone could do a photo or a video of that. So they were like, oh, is this happening? What is happening? They were so how it's surprised. They were just surprised. They didn't. It came out of nothing. And yeah, for the halftime, they saw that even the players were playing with their names on the back of the jersey, and everyone was so happy that that we gave something back. They didn't even know. And yeah, I think it was a really cool moment that besides all of the marketing aspects, it's like the cool moment to connect. Like in the stadium, everyone was seeing the names of a John Foster, of a Pablo from Pablo T-shirt Factory, or Piso from Octo Operations, but no one knows who they are. But the ones who should see it, knew it, and that was so cool.
It's amazing, and it plays all the way back into that strategy of sharing the stage, of sharing the stage, and you're using some of the most valuable, kind of assets that you've kind of got from PSG there, the perimeter boards and the back of shirt placement to bring through that connection to the community. And in that moment, given those assets to the community, in a sense, to these kind of tastemakers kind of across the city and community leaders, it's a brilliant representation of the strategy, a really cool moment for them, but then it just brings to life the approach and the mentality, I think, that's made everything fly so well. Like, it's even as you're saying, that moment, not everybody recognizes who they are. It's bringing through the whole idea, and it's bringing to life, and it's what feeds the bigger moments that kind of translate everywhere. It's so cool.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, again, we could talk forever about the different elements about the local activation. We could talk forever about all of those, but there was something which you started to tease a little bit there as you talked about where you were sat during that game. I think this is one of the most iconic parts of the partnership, albeit there's so many great things. But to talk about standard approaches, we all know the standard B2B hospitality box that sponsors get. Everybody can imagine it in the football ground. They all look quite the same, and you might have a bit of branding and a poster on the wall or something. But Snipes got Le Snipes deck. It's amazing. I'm not going to drum roll it anymore. If you could just talk through kind of your approach to hospitality at Parc des Princes, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, so we all know the beautiful Parc des Princes, and after our first meeting with PSG, my friend Florent, who's leading up the sponsorship department from the sales side, had the brilliant idea of showing us this part of the stadium. So it's called Le Deck, now Le Snipes Deck, and he spontaneously came up with this idea of deviating from the box plan. And he told us that what he envisioned and how we could change this area in the stadium. And from that moment on, it became an integral part of all the conversations with the club. And so Le Snipes Deck is in the curve. It's right next to the Ultra stand. So you have really the best atmosphere in the whole stadium, or the best atmosphere maybe in the Ultra stands, but the second best atmosphere at Le Snipes Deck. It's at the end of the ring where the boxes are, and just before the Ultras. We're half covered, half outdoors. It's open, so it's not like glass, marble, and whatever. That's Le Snipes Deck is the exact opposite of a VIP hospitality treatment. We do treat our guests well, so don't get that wrong. But it's not VIP. You can really those tickets to Le Snipes deck are affordable. And Snipes is culture, and we market to the youth on the outskirts or the neighborhoods of the city. And how wrong would it be to do a box and just like having those champagne moments? Like a box is great if you have the chance to experience that once in your life. Do it; it's good, but it's not for us. But this place and what we did with it, that's perfect for us. And kudos to the PSG and the PSG architectural teams and the Snipes retail design and architecture teams. They did a great job in the execution of it. The goal was to achieve a bit of the look and feel of a Snipes store as closely as possible without changing the building structure of the Parc des Princes and integrating PSG into it. Sounds like complex and was very complex, but the only thing that was really complex was the short lead time for the renovation. So like you heard of it, we love short time frames, 4 weeks to launch or to really get it out of with the firepower of like a year plan. For Le Snipes deck, we actually had 2.5 weeks to execute it. It was in the break for Nations League games in November and December. November 1.5 weeks, December another week, and we were able to like in September to start planning and executing it from November on. To really redesign this area as quick as possible. And we used elements that could also be found in Snipe stores, elements that are also familiar from the street, like a bus stop or like those zebra crossings, however you call them, and so on. The most difficult thing was the color concept. Snipes is orange and gray, PSG is red and blue. And we wanted to keep the orange as subtle as possible since one of PSG's major competitors' main color is orange. So we didn't want to provoke the fans by making our color unnecessarily visible. And so we developed a color concept based on light. And I'm like every time you hand something over to our construction department, you tell them, hey, but there's a difficulty, you can't use this color. They come up with a solution. You're like, okay, how? So what they did is they installed red and orange lamps. And if you look at Le Snipes deck from the outside, you will probably see it as red. But if you're on the inside, you'll have more orange light and you might recognize it as orange. So that's what they did here, working with gradients. So where you are in the stadium, you might see it differently. Pretty unconventional, but pretty cool. And so Le Snipes deck is this super cool new space at Parc des Princes. You can have like a few hundred people there for watch parties, for example. We hosted at the Aston Villa away game. So we invited a lot of people from Paris to watch the away game in the stadium at Le Snipes deck. And for league games, we have a capacity of 100 people. Half of the tickets is free to cop. And the other half is like shared for typically 20 kids from the Paris neighborhoods we invite to the games together with PSG. So they wouldn't typically be able to have an experience like that. So we invite them. And the other 25 tickets we give away to partners from our network, from our Home Heroes network. So whoever wants to join a game with us, we typically have a pretty good atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And you've had some amazing moments within it as well, haven't you? You've had some amazing moments and guests kind of throughout the season. Something else that you kind of alluded to that has definitely come through in the partnership in lots of different ways, and you alluded it to even in your your role in the journey you've had at Snipes, is Snipes Serves, which definitely kind of, we know does some great work across the community in general. Can you tell us a little bit more about that program and how that's been integrated into the partnership? Because again, I think that's something that people really love to hear a bit more about.
Sure. So Snipes and PSG are giving back to their respective local communities. Our initiative is called Snipe Serves, as you just said it, and we started it when we expanded to the United States 6 years ago, as it's a very important factor for the society over there. Like big companies give back to their communities as the social system over there, and with the current administration, it's even getting worse. But the social system over there wouldn't work without give back programs. So we started giving back ourselves and initiated this program in Europe as well. And we're tapping into disadvantaged or disadvantages in fields of, for example, education. Even if the disadvantages may vary in between Europe and the United States, but there are disadvantages you could support and should support on both sides on the Atlantic. In Europe, a key element of our Give Back program is called the Hip Hop class, where we are the enabler of a program that brings hip hop culture to schools and in classrooms. And this is something we will bring to the PSG campus from summer onwards, where we try to connect a school that has implemented this program in Paris to the PSG campus, where future Ballon d'Or winners are educated, and try to connect this or connect these dots. And then we support, together with PSG, the so-called Club Tour Snipes, where the kids from local clubs on the Ile-de-France and associations can apply and then receive coaching and special moments from PSG with the PSG staff and coaches and players, and can then watch a game in our Les Snipes deck. So we invite them to watch a game. And the highlight is that they are playing in the halftime a 1-versus-1 game on the pitch. So that's like a great moment for all those kids who come from disadvantaged neighborhoods and could never afford like going to Parc des Princes, watch a game, who would never had the experience of playing in the stadium, and are supported by the club as well, by being coached by their staff. So yeah, that's what we're doing currently with Snipe Serves together with PSG, and there are even more activations to follow. Where we are looking into activating. There's maybe one more. That's just like, now I'm like, it's everything's free flowing. But there's one more activation we did a few weeks ago. It's called Allez les filles, where we invited girls from disadvantaged neighborhoods to our Studio 93. It's like a studio space in Saint-Denis, in the north of Paris. Close to the Stade de France, and there's a store where we have a music studio and dance studio, or like this multifunctional space. And those girls, a few of them were with an artist writing a song, and they were really singing the chorus, the background choir in one of his songs. And the other half was learning a dance choreography to, I guess this was Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, but they really had a dance coach who showed them how it works, and they had like a great day with us. And so that's where we try to support and empower the community, the local communities in Paris and around Paris.
Amazing. I mean, I mean, obviously, kind of the work that you do there is so valuable to the communities, but also, I guess, yeah, that reflection of the fact that the business is rooted in community, and so there has to be that kind of two-way relationship between both. And yeah, and again, you know, some of the kind of elements that you spoke about there of the incorporation into the PSG kind of program. It's just a great example of how these club partnerships can be vehicles for multiple streams of kind of bringing the business, bringing a partner to kind of to market. It's not doesn't just have to be kind of from a comms perspective or marketing or a sales or a retail perspective, kind of bringing through.
And that's why we're not the that's why we're not the official partner or the premium partner.
Yeah,
that's why we're the official culture and community partner to Paris Saint-Germain. And exactly.
Yeah, all these levels of it definitely kind of coming through. I guess we could talk about all these elements forever, but something I just want to ask very quickly before we maybe we'll get on to kind of learnings and kind of wrap us up. But before we get to that, this obviously you've delivered this amazing season of activity, and that launch is phenomenal and some of the other things. But the past few weeks of the season have been quite a lot's happened. Quite a
Yeah.
lot's happened for PSG. Like, I guess, could you talk us through what the final few weeks have been like, and maybe what it was like being in Munich?
It was just crazy, such an amazing journey. So I've been to the second game of the semifinal when they beat Arsenal at the Parc des Princes. That was a crazy moment. I was in Hamburg before and flew in for the game, and the plane landed at 7:30. I was out of the airport at 8:15, and the game started at 9. And I was like, I will never make it on time. And my boss was like, hey, did you hear about those motor bicycle taxis in Paris? I was like, no. He was like, take one of these. They will get you into the stadium on time. And I booked one of the motorcycle cabs, and the global sponsorship director of PSG, she was with me in Hamburg and on the plane, and she took one as well. We didn't do it before. And while sitting on the motorcycle, I was like, why in the hell did I do that? Why did I risk my life for a lousy game of football? And the minute I was in the stadium, I was like, okay, I'll do it next time again. Typically, a taxi from the Paris airport Charles de Gaulle to the stadium is like by car 1 hour or 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
The motorcycle took me 17 minutes. And I was like, were the scariest 17 minutes of my life. Honestly, I almost shit myself. Do you know, on the helmet of you use for a motorcycle, on the back of it, there's always like instruction or sizing informations. I read them through. I was like, I don't want to see wwhat's happening over there. I just want to focus on something else. I was singing. I was like, no, 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 no. That was scary, but it was totally worth it. And so they proceeded to the Champions League finale. We, as I said, presented our partnership in Hamburg on one of the biggest marketing gatherings in Europe at the OMR Festival. A week later, we were able to present the partnership in London at the World Retail Congress. We were nominated for awards for this partnership in between the semifinal and the finale with you guys, even from ear to the ground. We were nominated for 2 awards, Football Business Awards, and that was like so crazy. There was a ride, and after proceeding to the finale, we were like, okay, let's do a pop-up experience in Munich. We want to activate this partnership in Munich as well. So what we did, we had 2 weeks of time after the semifinal to host this Ici c'est notre terrain claim-based pop-up shop. We had DJs there, we had product there, we invited our home heroes, so again, full circle. We had Claude Makelele there, who's really one of the best persons. Claude even posted something on his LinkedIn account about this experience at our pop-up, which is crazy. Like a world, one of the world's best football players, like from a few years ago, post something about you. That's so good. And all in, it was just crazy. It was my first experience of a Champions League or a big European Cup finale. I haven't ever had the chance to join one of these, and I was sitting right next to my, I have to say, brother from another mother. It's Bruno Ovicotti from Paris Saint-Germain. He's the sponsorship director, and being with him and like really, besides of this great game and this great result and the great seats we had and all of the experiences, I won't forget for the rest of my life. This is like the most precious moment, is sitting next to a person like him and seeing how much this day, this game, this title means to him. That was my personal highlight. Like the club really, if not in the past 10 months, there are so many great people working for this club, but on this day, this was really like a personal topic. And this club is run by so many passionate professionals, and being with them when they reached their goal, their most precious goal, was the most beautiful thing about the Champions League final.
Amazing. Yeah, it was a phenomenal it's a phenomenal end to the season, and yeah, I was lucky enough to be there in Munich. We're kind of working there and saw the pop up and saw the hype around the pop up, and then obviously saw the reaction kind of from the fan base and the club with the win.
Was
It's an incredible crowning to the year. Um, we've covered a load of stuff there. What I'd love to, I always love to finish these, and the audience kind of, I know, kind of we're really keen to hear like what your like real quick, what are like your biggest learnings from what has been a phenomenally exciting, probably intense at times, but really successful first season?
Yeah, so that's a good one. It's like 10 months since we initiated this project, this partnership, and it's new to Snipes sponsoring football. It's new to me. So it feels a bit as if you've never been hiking, and then you're planning to climb Mount Everest without oxygen the next day. And that's how it honestly felt or feels to me from time to time. So maybe not the Mount Everest, but you get the point. It
Yeah.
was a challenge, and so I made a lot of learnings. First one, you can't win without dedication, and in this constellation with PSG, but also with Nike, with our partners from ear to the ground, with you guys, but also with other partners, it's like if everyone matches the same dedication and is not working in 9 to 5 silos and sticking to their piece of work, it wouldn't work. So you need to have a lot of dedication. Without it, it's impossible to win. Authenticity is the key to success. If you're not, and now I'm bringing it up, you said like for 1 hour podcast, I didn't even say it once, but now it's there. If you're not authentic in
Yeah.
what you do, it'll break your neck. What does that mean? I like to make that and like to point that out very clear. It wouldn't have worked if we would have had no idea on what we're doing. So it wouldn't have worked out if PSG didn't want exactly what we achieved together. It wouldn't have worked out if we just placed our budget somewhere, and if we're not interested in like, yes, we are interested in visibility and all of that, but we're not interested in just perimeter ads or our logo somewhere. We're interested in an authentic partnership that's based on shared values, and one that everyone can grow from, and one which is meaningful within all parts and things created. So you have to be authentic to do that. And all of the partners involved have to create this constellation that they are really true about what they say and what they want, and not just execute rights from a contract. And probably the even bigger lesson is this only works with the right people and the right constellation at PSG, at Snipes, at Nike, our partner agencies like Ear to the Ground. If this constellation isn't right, you are not able to execute anything that comes close to what we are executing since September 2024.
Wow. Amazing. Three great learnings. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, like you said, there's loads of stuff that you've learned of that analogy of learning, starting tight and then going up. But yeah.
It sounds so random, right? If you say like, okay, you need dedication, authenticity, and the right people. It's like ABC.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's not rocket science. There are like learnings, or there's knowledge you have to bring in that's way more difficult than just saying be authentic.
Yeah.
But if you don't have these 3 base elements, you can skip the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't be you can't be groundbreaking and completely innovative if you don't have the foundations that facilitate that, right? And that is, that's what you're talking
Yes,
about. You're talking about getting all of the right things in place to allow brilliance to happen, and that's definitely what's happened in this past year.
yes,
It's been humbling to kind of see and kind of be part of. And
absolutely, absolutely.
so
I'm
so our final question, Simon.
yeah.
Final question. What are you most excited about next? What's next? How can you top all of that?
Oh yes, we're working on that. Actually, I just wanted to say, what you just said. I sometimes have to pinch myself. Like, is this really happening right now? And being able to execute such a great partnership is really an honor, and it's humbling at the same time, and sometimes difficult to really see, like, is this really happening? But it is, and together with PSG, with Nike. With you guys and with Octo, we're currently working on 2 epic events this June to present the PSG home kit, the new home kit for the new season 25-26 in Europe and in the United States. So first we create a song with 2 music legends from France and from America to build the bridge to the Club World Cup that is happening from mid-June to mid-July. And we'd like to launch the new home kit the Snipes way, followed by several activations in Europe and in the United States to bring it then back home. And we'll host a huge party in Paris to highlight the partnership, but also the product surrounding it and the culture surrounding it at Fête de la Musique, which is the biggest cultural event that Paris has to offer. So in our eyes, the perfect narrative and the perfect way to launch a new home kit, but doing it big.
It's kind of the perfect extension of the idea of from Paris to the world, right? Where there's been
Yes.
that period of time of really reconnecting both club and brand with Paris and with the communities and with the culture there, and the opportunity that the Club World Cup kind of presents to go global, and then, like you say, to bring it back into Europe again. It's the perfect kind of circle on what's happened.
Yes.
Simon,
Owen.
what a journey.
Yeah.
What a journey the last 10 months, but also talking us through it all here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody who's kind of watched and listened in is absolutely kind of so thankful for your kind of what you've spoken us through there and what you shared. And kind of amazed at what you've delivered. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been great to have you. And thank you to all of our listeners, to everybody who's kind of watched. Look out for kind of some of the follow-ups to everybody that's subscribed with more information on kind of the work and also what we've got coming next on the series. Hope you've all enjoyed it. I absolutely love talking through that. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks, Owen.
Thanks everybody.
Guys.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.